Good on Friday because he won a scholarship there. So I said we should just go and look at it.
That's a pretty campus too.
Yeah. I go down there for work quite a bit, so I'm like, I can work on setting up the kids.
The Auburn Industrial Development Authority will come to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Beason,
Here.
Mr. Andre, Ms. McIntyre, here, Ms. Logan,
Here.
Mr. Cuddy, Mr. Giantino,
Here.
Mr. Braga, Mr. Gasper.
Here.
Mr. Beard.
Now for the minutes. Everybody was here, so we can do minutes. Minutes for the May 19th regular meeting. Is there any changes or discussion on the minutes? May I have a motion, please?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions carried. Thank you. Bills and communications, TGW, which is the 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Just fourth and fifth,
Just 4th and 5th? Okay.
which they total, in total 6,000, so 3,000 per month. We also had the AIDA Q2 invoice, which equals 5,096,084 cents, which includes your administrative services contract, which is 5,000. Operating expenses, which we just posted, which came to 10109, and then there's a credit back to AIDA from the previous quarter of $4.25.
Motion on the floor to accept the bills, please. Make a motion. Glenn, second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions carried. Report of the treasurer who's not here. Hello.
So for the profit and loss, we combine May and June, since we have a May meeting. Breakdown of those. We had no income for those 2 months, so the only expenses that came about was the CETA bill and TVW. The total expense for those for technically June was the $11,096.84. And then to break down the account balances at the bottom, there's nothing restricted at this point in time. Then you look at your balance sheet. You have the checking savings account, the transfer account went through from the checking savings account. You see the difference in the checking account balance. And then everything else was pretty standard, nothing really changed across the board for the month. And that's it, brother.
What did we agree to on moving on the savings from checking to savings?
100,000.
Pardon?
100,000.
Is there a motion on the floor to accept the P and L and balance sheet? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions carried. The small business, or this, excuse me, the TGW update.
Yes. So first of all, welcome back. Is this is your first in-person meeting?
It is. Yeah.
You two, both of you?
think so.
Wow. Half of our board has never been to an in-person meeting. Great.
You've done a great job on parking.
Yeah, I put that fence there just for you. Anyway, so TGW, we're in our 6th month right now, and we're tweaking a couple of the pages on the website. We're gonna actually have them put together a few template ad pieces for particularly digital advertising that we can pull from as we have opportunities that would be using that brand, particularly, well, for both resident and business attraction. So we're gonna have them pull together a few ads that we can just have on hand and utilize moving into the future. And they finalized a one-pager for our 101 that we can put into packages when we reach out to site selectors. They're putting together some very nice content for us to use moving forward. And we're getting ready to hand things off in the next couple of weeks here to get a lot of that more back-end stuff into our hands for easier updates and posting and things of that nature. Yeah, so that's kind of where we are with them right now. We're still working on some of the metrics and trying to figure out where those are going because we're still trying to figure out the right avenues to get the brand out there at this point. So that'll play into another conversation later, but we'll make sure to get a metrics update from them before we finalize this last month, finish up this last month.
You get any kind of analytics on the website as far as traffic growing to it since it's launched?
Not recently. The last one I got was, I think, over a month ago. So I don't have any recent metrics to give you tonight, but I'll make sure to have some good analytics moving into this meeting.
And then if like one of the businesses in town kind of wants to, pin that, so to speak, in any literature they have or kind of, affiliate themselves out. I know we talked about that. I wasn't sure if there was a pathway for somebody to have that kind of embedded in their, in their site or literature, as part of the.
Yeah, we can work with our partners on that. I think we've already updated with the city of Auburn and some of the other folks that previously had AIDA already established on their sites. So we can work with people individually or directly if they'd like to include the brand within their website. Some of our employers have kind of this kind of information, so we'll make sure to get all of that updated with them. But I don't necessarily have a widget or anything like that.
Yeah, I was just curious how that.
Can you make us a widget? That would be cool.
I don't know, but yeah, I was just thinking for local,
Yeah, like an embed code or something.
Well, even just if you're, a restaurant, bakery, whatever, if you wanted to kind of have a little, if you had a one-page flyer to be able to say, hey, we're part of this community, and here's the link to it or whatever, which they could just put on there. But I wasn't sure if there's any kind of engagement in that regard, or it's more.
Mostly just with the folks who were already engaged previously. We haven't done a ton of outreach to be like, hey, get this on your site. Except for, the folks that we were trying to get that information updated. But it's something that we'll keep in mind, especially as we're To a certain extent, we've been talking to employers about it being a place that they, or a resource for them as they're doing recruitment for individuals that are trying to recruit from out of town. It's a place for them to access and get to their potential employees. They're trying to recruit. So we've done some of that work. But in terms of getting it listed like on their website or flyers, we haven't done much of that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, see the staff report.
Micro enterprises reopened. Yay! So the city CDBG fund has provided funding again in this program year to do another micro enterprise round for City of Auburn residents and micro business owners, micro enterprise owners, I guess you could say. With the applications open right now, it's due August 8th. I think it's August 8th.
That's a Sunday, I'm pretty sure. It's the 4th.
Oh, the 4th.
4th. Not,
It's due at the beginning of August.
not the 8th.
And the due date is clearly listed on the micro enterprise website. But we are, it's the same kind of deal as the last round. We're looking for low to moderate income individuals and to apply and be part of the program. Those individuals that are accepted into the program and complete the entire series of educational aspects and mentoring are eligible for a $5,000 grant or a grant of up to $5,000. And we will be making those seminars open to other businesses and entrepreneurs as well. So it's not the educational programming will not be exclusive to these individuals, just the eligibility for the grants. And we're in a good place now that if for some reason someone doesn't finish the program, we can run another one before the end of the program year and make up that difference. So if you know of anybody who might be interested, please do have them reach out. We've gotten a handful of applications, but a good number of them are not eligible for the program. So we are still looking for applicants to come in, and these applications always come in, the week that they're due. So we're excited to see what comes in next. But that program will start in September, the beginning of September. You got it?
I got it.
You got it.
Application deadline is August 9th. The 12 series sessions start September 9th.
Yes. So neither of us are right. August 9th, application due date, sessions start September 9th. This is that we did expand it to a 12-week program, included a break week, and it will wrap up right before Thanksgiving. So people will be done and out by the holidays, but we did want to add a few additional sessions because in the first round we found that there were some additional topics we wanted to cover or some topics we needed to cover at more length. So we did make some updates to the program based on what we learned from the first round, and we think that this will be a good opportunity to test it out again. So excited about that. Please do share and send people our way if they might be interested. We're moving forward with working with some of our different community partners on really identifying and building a framework for workforce development at the county level, and really trying to make sure that all of the different resources that are available are well connected and that there's industry input into our workforce development system. So we're having a lot of community conversations with employers and community partners about how to build a framework around all these resources to improve the pipeline for employment for both individuals and employers. And working specifically with employers that are dedicated and have a lot of buy-in into improving the workplace, improving the situation for their employees, investing in their professional development. Making sure that we're working with employers that get the vision and fit into the vision. So we're continuing those conversations, and this will develop over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but one of the first steps is really getting buy-in from some of the community partners and inventorying what is actually already available so that we can properly leverage all of the available resources. Not necessarily asking anyone to do anything more, just understanding what is there and making sure that they understand what the employers need. And then we can look at, okay, what needs to be enhanced, what needs to be created from that point. So those conversations are happening as well. We have a second round of DRI applicants that were awarded. I think that might have been was that after the last meeting? We did have another round of DRI applications that were awarded, and we're funding, well, right now we're funding, I think, 6 additional projects. One has decided not to, one from this round and one from the previous round have decided not to move forward with the funding, so we are going to reallocate some of that funding to other applicants that were either not funded or were not fully funded. So we're going to go back to those applicants and ask them if they are still interested in the funding before we reopen the pot. And so we're working on that, and we're working on getting those projects moving. CFAs are open. We are working with a number of businesses to apply for ESD grant funds either this month for the July 30th deadline, or those funds will actually continue to be open this year. So we'll see how that process works. It's a little bit different this year. ESD grant funds have typically only been available one deadline a year. You apply to July, you find out in December for a project that starts the following year. This year, they're doing it a little bit differently, where they actually reviewed an initial round of applications that came in before June 30th. We'll review another round of applications that come in by July 30th. And then it is going to be an open process until the funding runs out. So this is a little different than how we've done it in the past. So we'll have to see how long that funding lasts. But we do expect there will be some available for at least applications in August. And we think the timeline to turn around the awards is going to be faster. So these projects can start moving a little bit quicker than they would normally. So if anyone else is still interested, by all means, we're happy to work with them. We have a few that are going to apply in August and a few that are going to apply this month. And then we're also working with a few other organizations within the community for other pots of money that are actually due July 30th. No open deadline for those. No Market New York, canals, parks. We have a few different applications that we're people on that are due the 30th. So and those I think will still be announced. I think they're going to try to announce those a little earlier, but we'll see. We'll see how that process goes. Hard to tell. So yeah, so CFAs are still open, but due very soon. And we're doing a lot of legislative work. Those.
Did that cover small business?
Not so much. These are, so the ESD grant funds are really geared towards larger capital projects. So investments in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not typically a good fit for smaller projects.
Tracy, can you give me some examples of who's applying and who we're helping?
Sure. So this year we've been working with DNW for a couple of years on something they're thinking about doing. I think they're going to apply in August. New Age Renewable Energy is looking at a project. There's some additional equipment, I believe, that we're working with them. What was the other one? There's another one. We've been working with the Veterans Park. They're applying for not ESD funding, but the Environmental Protection Fund, which works with some park spaces. We've had a few conversations with Senior Library about something that they're doing. But in terms of the ESD grant funds, the business funds, New Age Renewable Energy, DNW, he's working on another one. That's slipping my mind right now. But types of projects that have been funded in the past are things like Courier, Cuban Milk Ingredients, Page Trucking for their expansion, Aurora Shoe Company. Actually, that was one of the smaller projects that have been funded from a budgetary standpoint. That project was right around $1,000. And that's typically about what makes sense, considering the administration that's involved. in these projects, but those are the types of projects that we're talking about, these, major capital projects.
What's going on with Veterans Park? What are they applying for?
They're applying for EPF money, so Environmental Protection Fund, to help with the restoration of the fields and restoration of the field house.
Oh, you're talking out on,
Out in Aurelius.
okay,
Yeah, I was
I thought you were
street.
talking.
I was like, what?
Gotcha.
Okay, I got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I
was
think they
thinking
refer to that as
too.
American Legion Park.
I don't know.
I think,
So they've been working on this for quite some time. They've got a good business plan put together, and they have some really good forward-facing ideas about how to reinvigorate that ball field, and they just need some funding assistance to actually make that happen. They've raised some money. There's some foundations that have expressed some interest, and the state money would really help to cover that gap. There's some, so we'll see. Fingers crossed.
We're talking about allocating some ARPA money for Veterans Park here. That's why I was like, are we talking about the same thing?
No, different thing.
Is that going to be tied into the brownfield project that they're working with the old GE plant?
I don't think they're directly tied to each other. I think they're separate issues.
Probably the same constituents are affecting them as affected the plant.
Yeah. In terms of like the,
Okay,
I have one question. The eligibility for the micro enterprise program, what is that? Is it based on income?
household income, yeah,
Okay, so like 80% of the median, or do you know what it is?
more or less, yeah. So the application has, here. Application, how much you can see it.
Thanks.
Ooh, that's too much, too much. Okay. Okay, so on the second page of the application here, there's no little bit, it's all or nothing. Okay. So anything in so depending on household size, they're looking at household income. And this has been a point of contention with some folks who applied the first time around, is perhaps the individual does, falls within the low to moderate income, but
The household.
the household does not, and that doesn't count. And we're looking at households per HUD and CDBG guidelines.
Yep.
But it's really anyone who falls within the household size within the 3 levels underneath where it says more.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think it is 80%. I think that's the threshold we use.
Yeah, it's, often that's the threshold for a lot of qualifiers. Thank you.
So, but that's all on the app. This is the application, in case you were wondering. And yeah, and we added a lot of language around city of Auburn resident, and we learned that we had a couple of situations where things had moved, people had moved, or so we had to update our SOP a little bit, but we're on it. We're on it now. That's the whole point of a pilot, right? You learn things. So this page has all of the information about the program coming up. It's got the application to download, Meg's contact information, and then a list of the session topics. And then, the funding, where the funding is coming from for that. So this is a good resource if anyone's interested.
Tracy, I didn't get to ask this when you were initially talking about this, but if I'm recalling correctly, one of the things that you were discovering after the pilot was the amount of time that Meg needed to devote to the mentoring piece of the program.
Yes,
Was I in that same meeting?
Yes.
I had these conversations, busy about that. Okay, we'll make sure I was in the right meeting. So how are you dealing with that this time?
So one, we're actually limiting to the 5 people.
Okay. Mhm.
We had actually accepted additional people.
Right.
In the case that perhaps someone didn't make it through the whole program.
Right.
We have enough to utilize all the funding.
Mhm.
So one is that we're actually limiting it to the 5.
Okay.
Another is that she has a few other people on board to help with some of the mentoring.
Okay.
And she's going to use some subject matter experts a little bit more in that mentoring
Mhm.
aspect.
Mhm.
We're also in the process of recruiting some more score mentors, which will be able to help. If anyone knows anybody or is interested, let me know, because we can all use more score mentors. So really we're, part of it is, extending that a little bit.
Right.
Part of it is actually limiting the number who are getting that level of mentoring.
Mhm.
And part of it is utilizing some additional mentors for certain aspects of the mentoring.
Great.
So someone who, can talk about marketing specifically and mentor in that realm.
Mhm.
So breaking it up a little bit more, so she's not the only one doing mentoring.
Good.
But yes, it is a lot. It's still a lot. That group they're still coming back and they're still, which is great.
Yeah.
We,
Any
really
further
look forward-
questions? The print advertising budget request.
Okay, so this has changed significantly since the packet went out. I don't know, so this request came specifically because an opportunity arose from Yankees Magazine. They had reached out to the city of Auburn and said, look, we'll give you a special deal if you want to advertise. And the thought process is that a few of our brands across the city might actually benefit from this market. Since then, unfortunately, Tim Castro was injured and is out for the season. So we are not going to move forward with the Yankees Magazine at this point. So this has changed a little bit. We're not so worried about what's going on with the Yankees Magazine. But we do want to still talk a little bit about having some funds available for when opportunities arise. For print and digital media to help with the brand. CEDA is doing some of that. We did use CEDA actually funded using this brand in the new business guide that the Equal Rights Heritage Center put out there. And moving forward, we will certainly be using it at our expense for some of the business attraction work, because that's part of why we did this. But there may be opportunities that make more sense on the residential side, or that we could use some additional resources. So I just wanted to have a conversation about whether there was an interest in kind of making the marketing budget for utilizing this brand for paid advertising moving forward. What I did here was kind of put together where we are in our budget with TGW. I expect we'll be about $6,500 under budget on that. So either looking at phase 2, we were $4,500 under the top of that budget range. Maybe looking to allocate that in case there's a need for some paid advertising or a really great opportunity to collaborate with our partners on an opportunity like this. They often come and go very quickly. Anyone in marketing, these guys reach out and they're like, I need to know by next week. And it's not always easy to be like, oh wait, I have to wait for a board meeting to be able to do that. So I just wanted to have this conversation despite the fact that this particular opportunity is not necessarily the right fit anymore. But see if there was an interest among the board to maybe say, hey, let's take that $4,500 and put it on the marketing line to be available for the use of the brand, in addition to what CEDA will be using it for.
Are you running paid advertising now through the agency?
No,
Okay, did they do any, or was
for
anything,
TGW?
was everything organic?
everything's been organic to this
Okay.
point for what TGW has been doing. They did design the ad for the Rights Heritage Center for us, but we paid for it. And then they are putting together the designs for additional ads, but this budget for their work did not include any paid advertising.
So what prompted you, in addition to the fact that Tim's from Auburn, to think about making this purchase? Like what did you see as the value in investing?
So the value that comes from this particular, we were looking at from this particular,
Mhm.
for this particular avenue was that in him being new on the team,
Mhm.
they've been talking about him a lot, and in doing that, they've been talking about Auburn a lot.
Mhm.
So really reaching out in a different way to this audience
Got
that's hearing about Auburn potentially for the first time.
Mhm.
And we're going to collaborate between the city of Auburn, AIDA, and the tourism office
Mhm.
to make a pitch of, move to or visit Auburn, New York,
Mhm.
and hometown of Tim LaCastro
Mhm.
is making great plays.
Mhm.
And, it was a great play.
Yeah.
It's a really great play.
I don't even watch basketball, and that caught my eye.
I know, you saw it. It was good.
I can't-
I thought that we put a motion on the table, if the need should arise for expediency. Tracy has the authority to use those funds for print advertising and report back to at the next meeting.
Let's say print and digital.
That cover it?
Yes.
Did
And
you get that?
you want to say
Mhm.
4,500 for phase 2, just since we don't have the 6 month 6. And
I'm fine with that.
Can I just have a discussion about it, Tracy?
yes, please.
Because in my mind, $4,500 doesn't seem like a lot of money to place print ads in a publication of this nature. So I would offer for consideration that you think strategically about when to use the $4,500, because that could be one placement given the publication. And I think if your team comes up with, this would be the criteria that we would use to spend some of this money in a certain publication. That's kind of what I was getting at when I said, in addition to Tim being from Auburn, what was the catalyst for considering making this purchase? Because I think it's even more difficult sometimes to track the impact of print
Yes.
media. And so some things that are kind of coming together in my mind as I'm thinking about the supply chain
Mhm.
report, for example, and they're inviting us to think about targeting certain kinds of companies. So even consider looking at publications that are related to those businesses,
Yeah.
right? Professional magazines, that kind of thing.
Excuse
I-
me, Glenn,
Mhm.
there's a motion on the floor.
I know, wasn't it seconded?
But if you want to amend it before,
Oh, I don't want to amend it. I just want to have a
Okay.
discussion about it. That's all.
well, we'll talk once we get the motion.
Oh, I thought the motion was on the floor.
Huh?
I thought the motion was on the
And I thought it was seconded.
I
I'm sorry,
didn't
Jimmy.
hear that there was a first and second.
Yeah, you made the motion.
floor.
Oh, well,
Sorry. I
I'm
thought there
sorry.
was-
That's okay.
I missed that.
Sorry.
no, listen, I live around Roberta's rule, so let me make the motion.
Sorry,
Just
I
because you're
interrupted
talking, I'm
you.
assuming you're seconded.
I'm second.
Thank you. We good?
Let's be a little more vocal on our.
Well, I am a bit of a wild woman, but however, so that's just my thing. I think that that's a great idea. And I also simultaneously, given my experience with this, right, don't think that's a lot of money. So I think when we're going to place print ads, if we're really tactical and strategic about where we're placing them, I think that would make a lot of sense. And sometimes a publication of this nature could give you the bang for your buck. But if we know there's some real immediate things we're focused on targeting on, I would do the research on publications, journals, those kinds of their industry stuff. That's the word I was looking for, and look at spending that money there.
Yes.
And I also would ask you if this works for you, I would say, ask us, let's find some more money and help you do it.
Yes. And
Sorry about that, Jim.
I 100% agree.
Roberta wasn't tapping me on the shoulder about the rules.
No, I 100% agree, and, coming out of our work with TGW, there will be, and having the supply chain coming in, we're gonna have a larger strategy conversation
Right.
about how to use this brand and where to use it, and at that point, there may be a different ask, or, depending on where, CEDA's focused on their budget, and where we might need some assistance from AIDA on other things, we'll bring a larger, more composed
Got
structure back.
Mhm.
This is more of a stopgap.
Right.
For like when it's just like, and in this case, you're right, it's not a lot of money. Like if we were doing this by ourselves, we wouldn't have made it.
Right.
But this is a more collaborative effort, tourism and agreed to participate.
Okay.
So I do see it being more digital focused, and that's why with TGW, we're a little bit more focused on the digital ads, because this can actually go quite a distance of digital.
Right.
But, to just have something there to pull from, in the case of something like this does come up. We've got something, but then we will be bringing back a larger strategy, for what you're talking about in industry magazines.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. But you're right, digital is a lot easier to track.
Mhm.
Print, we're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone read that magazine. I know X thousand people got it, but it is a challenge. It is. That's why we like the ones that come with it.
Unfortunately, our hands are tied with the going out and asking individually by phone for a vote. We can't do that, so this is the best, I think, the best alternative to do it this way.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions carried. Thank you. The board member update. I spoke to Peter Mack and he's started construction. He's got quite a bit going on over there, which is good to see. And the way he's very excited about what's going on, so he may very well be coming back to us, so which is good.
I'm trying not to sell his land, but
Pardon me?
I'm trying not to sell his land, but
Talked to Bill Ellis. Bill Ellis said that that was about a week, 2 weeks ago, that they were getting ready to finalize, so, which is good. Have we heard anything from Jeff Blackwell, Northeast Scaffolding?
No.
That's interesting.
it seems that has come to a pause.
I wonder if we should reach out and just ask if there's anything we could be doing for them. That would be a good anchor in that park, I think.
Yep.
And the fish farm, how's that doing? Do you know? I have no idea. You can't
It's-
tell from the
It's
outside.
an impressive facility. You know,
Are they
he's-
shipping?
Is he shipping? I mean, I think they're mostly doing local and regional customers, but
They're producing them.
they are producing, yes, they are producing, they are selling. They're very open to doing tours and bringing people through the building. We did a tour there a couple months ago, and it's quite impressive how many fish, actually kind of creepy how many fish they have. I like fish, but that's a lot. But it's a very impressive facility, and, you know, he has some, he's one of the ones we're talking about CFA with, to your point.
See, how it all comes
Thank
together.
you for bringing that up. So they have a growth plan, and they're gonna need some additional investments, so. But like everybody else, he's struggling with workers. He has a pretty good relationship with Morrisville, and he's recruiting a lot from Morrisville for some of its more skilled labor and specific skilled labor, but he's doing pretty well over there.
Is there anything to the rumor with Bombardier?
Which one?
The one that it's going to be sold?
Not to my knowledge.
The building,
Yeah, not to my knowledge.
it's going to be rented?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. That's fine.
And pretty much any rumor you hear about the mall is probably not true. Just throwing it out there. There's a few of them flying around.
We have them all.
I'm more concerned with Bombardier.
I mean, there's been interest in it, and we've sent some inquiries their way. We have some new contacts, but to my knowledge, nothing is moving forward at this moment.
Tracy, was it Tessie that went into the McQuay space? Are they still using that space, or did I read that they closed it down and laid off the workers?
They did do some layoffs. They're not. My understanding is that they're not at the level that they were when they were doing the testing kits, but that
Mhm.
contract seems to have, done what it's doing,
Right.
followed the trends.
Mhm.
But I don't have very much information beyond that, but we did We did catch wind that there were some layoffs, but I do think they're still in there and they do still have some employees.
And another thing I was thinking about, because I also sit on the Center State CEO board, and they are really ramping up in their workforce development space to train people to be prepared to do some of the work that will be affiliated with I-81. And I was wondering if we are doing anything in our workforce development space around that issue. They are looking at, of course, given the stats of that city, of course, they're looking at certainly inviting women, veterans, people of color to come into the training program, but it's to get them to do positions like the flag folks, those kinds of things. And I was wondering if we are in conversation with Center State CEO about how we could get Cuba County residents involved in it, or could we explore some sort of collaborative relationship with them to make sure that if people in our county wanted access to that opportunity, there are gazillions of dollars going to be flying around. So I just didn't know if we were in relationship with Center State CEO that way.
So we're chatting with them about a different collaboration. So I can ask them about this one
Right.
and see what their strategy is from a regional perspective. It's not necessarily part of our strategy, but I can see making sure that our residents are being considered in their regional strategy.
Right, I didn't know if it was county specific, right, that you had to be a resident of Onondaga County.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check.
But I think that there is so much opportunity there that if we can get some of our folks trained and developed to do some of that work, they might as well go make $30 an hour.
And then come back with the
I
skills.
see,
And come back with a skill.
Page Trucking's doing a career planning program for teenagers, which is great.
Yeah, their whole capital project had a very extensive professional development and workforce development component. So that fits right in line with what they've been planning all along, because everybody needs truck drivers too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's holding us back right now.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
I just think it's important that we keep our eye on that project and observe how they're going to deal with all of the money that's coming through, because there is a lot of money coming through. And I think if we can get folks from our county employed through some of that we should. And I think if there's a combined opportunity to train them to do that with a skill set that, will work for them for a very long time, I think we should definitely do that. So I have a feeling this guy named Andrew Fish could help you with that. I'm gonna be having lunch with that guy pretty soon.
Yeah. But yeah, and many of their programs, just from experience, include a lot of groundwork and soft skills, and which are transferable to any industry. So even if there is a technical aspect to it, having that, people go through that program, even for that component of it, will transfer back into other industries here, if not construction.
If you go on their website, I think when you get into their workforce development page, I think there's some information about this. And Dr. Johanna Rogers is a mentee of mine. She also was part of that initiative. So if you reach out to either of them, they should be able to tell you more about the approach that they're using.
Sure.
Have you done anything about Jimmy and Katie, the training?
They both done it.
Okay.
Yep. The ABO, the online webinar.
Yeah, I completed mine in April.
Do we have any of those? I'm all out now. I collected them for a while. The Harris Speech
They
books,
haven't done one in a couple of years, so.
but the old one is still,
Yeah.
I just went through it's 2 years old now, yeah.
Yes.
I just went through it. It's pretty, current, if you will.
Yeah.
If
We
we
might
could-
have a couple of extras upstairs.
If we have those, that'd be great. I think great help for them.
Well, we'll take a look and see if we have a couple.
Thank you.
extras. The information doesn't change that much from year to year, so even if we have a couple older versions, it might still be.
We know a couple of people there anyway, so
I'll just ask Justin to send us some, it'll be fine.
Justin will give them to us.
Just mail them over.
Okay, does anybody, huh?
Let's talk about Harris Speech.
Yes. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to bring up? I do believe there's some upcoming events.
There are. We've got a Marketing Monday session on August 2nd. This is actually going to be about online content creation. Bianca Lewis, who used to be here, but now has her own successful or becoming successful online business. She went through she actually audited the micro enterprise program in the first round and is growing an online mentorship business, mentorship and consulting business. I think is an appropriate way to describe it. And she is doing a seminar about online content creation, which is sometimes the hardest part of online media for me, for us. So that'll be a really good session. It's gonna be an hour. If you can come in person or attend virtually. Our Clampic is coming up on August 12th. That's at Yagerbrook again. Registration deadline is July 30th. And there's going to be some other nonprofit workshops coming up as well in the upcoming months. So just keep an eye on the chamber calendar.
Anybody else have anything? Is there a motion to adjourn? Jim?
I'm watching your hands.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You gotta keep.
I paid attention
If you're
that
second,
time,
just
so I-
because that was